Welcome, dirty peasants, to episode 93 of Wartwood Gazette, the Amphibia podcast. This week we'll be discussing Amphibia's supporting characters. I'm your host, the Baticon, and joining me today we have Impact.
Hey everybody.
All right, thanks Impact for coming on. This week in Amphibia news is May 31st, so it's been a while since we recorded, and I think we're probably
Mhm.
I think we're 2 or 3 weeks behind on the uploads, but this is probably gonna come out fairly soon, so it'll be kind of current. Um, so news: the Amphibia hardcover, the Amphibia book, has been delayed. Originally, it was scheduled for sometime like end of November. Now it's been delayed to end of March 2025.
Yep, that
I'm
was
not.
on the Amazon page
Yeah,
for it. Matt hasn't officially said it, but it's most likely that's the case.
yeah. I'd rather just assume March, like 2025, and then if it's earlier, then it'll be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
And other news, about a couple days ago, there's like an expo called MomoCon,
Hmm.
and Matt was a speaker there along with. Well, he was on a panel with the voice actor for Luce. I forgot her name, like Sarah Nico something.
I forget
Um,
her name too.
and then
I think
also
you're right though.
yeah, and then also the voice of Lilith. I forgot, like I think Sissy Jones. I just know because she voices like a transformer too. But and then also like an animator who's worked on stuff like I know Tarzan, Lilo and Stitch. I'm looking up the. I'm trying to look up the panel right now. But
And then there was another panel where he was with Dana Terrace, created Bauhaus. Who created Hell of a Boss? I don't watch that show.
oh,
Um,
Vivian
Vi- Vivi
something.
something. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
I
I'm
did
sorry.
not I did not listen to this panel. I'll give it a listen now, like later, and just because I know,
Vizzy Pop
yeah, like that's her online name, the creator of
name. Yeah.
Has Been Hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. Aside from that, I think that's all the news we have. I know for the Amphibia art book, like Brenda Song is going to give like a forewords, like that's like the first page of like a book where they kind of like talk about, I guess, stuff related to the book, which is great. But on to this week's topic, supporting characters. So last time we talked about Hop Pop. Before we get into Sprig, just wanted to kind of like cover a bit more of Amphibious characters. I know we kind of went into some of them with the villains recording, so it'll
Hmm.
be nice to cover the townsfolk or the townsfolk of multiple worlds in this case. And so Impact and I were discussing like off recording that like instead of going season 1, 2, and 3, it might be more fitting to do season 3, 2, and then 1, just because
Yeah.
the characters we met in season 1 were like much more like prominent throughout the series. So yeah, I agree. I think it makes more sense to go in that order.
Go in that reverse pyramid. Yeah.
Wait, we're also talking about workout stuff off recording. That's why. That's a good pun. But uh, so starting with season 3, we spent the least amount of time with these supporting characters. So the planners come to Earth. You have all of these like LA characters interacting with their main characters. Most prominently, Mr. and Mrs. Boone Choi. And
Yeah.
Impact, I know this is kind of like the season where you caught up to the series, like you were able to watch it like week by week. I guess
Mm.
what are your kind of general thoughts on like the Earth Townies?
I really like them. I think my sentiment on all the Earth Townies are I think they were really fun. And I think I've said this before quite a bit. I just wish we had a little more time with them. I do feel like getting like one episode. I do feel like we get a good amount of time, like with Dr. Jan. I think she's great. She lasts like a long amount of time in the show. Like she's in like 4 episodes. Like she's
Hmm.
pretty prominent throughout the show. And Terry's like there for 2. I wish they were there for like 3. And like the IT gals, they needed. I like what they add to FLX. But yeah, I really like all of them. I think like they have their moment to shine, and they don't like. There wasn't really an Earth character from like side character point of view. I disliked. All of them were like fun additions. I do think Humphrey was a little boring, a little bit, but like
How dare
he's
you?
not bad. Sorry. I think Humphrey's okay. Um, I think he was like a fun like I think it was cool to have a character we could just trust. Like when Humphrey first showed up, I was always like, we've been like betrayed and like had like which for all the characters in 3A, it was nice that we didn't get like betrayed and shit. Besides from like what was that doctor's name?
Dr. Frakes.
Yeah, like it was kind of refreshing to have characters who just fucking help us out instead of getting like Marcy betrays us, and then Sasha does, and then Andreas does, and then the curator does. Like it was it was a nice change of pace to it, so I like it.
Yeah, like I agree with you. Like I wish we spent more time with them. And I know because like midway season 3 we go back to Amphibia, we kind of lost that. And
Yeah,
I think my overall the encounters, I feel like when we are introduced to the townsfolk, not townsfolk, I guess, the Earth supporting characters, to me it feels less, it didn't feel as organic as season 1 and 2 meeting those characters. But I think it makes up for that just because season 3 had so many objectives, we were meeting characters that kind of helped like move the plot forward. And I guess the
yeah,
plot in this
yeah,
case, like the invasion, getting back to Amphibia plot side of things.
yeah. I think my thing with it is that I would have liked. I think Terry and Dr. Jan are the big two. Like that I really liked. I
Hmm.
wish we had more of Anne bouncing off them just a little more because I think like Dr. Jan I think gives a really good lesson to Anne in Fight at the Museum. Even though tonally, when I look back at that episode, I do get what people mean when it's the episode's like tonally weird. It's like whatever. I won't get into that. But like I still think it works. Um, and having like Terry around just a little more would have been nice. I think what is it like? I think the even like Spider Sprig, I feel like had a still a fun like side cast of characters like with Molly Joe and like Robert Otto. They were fun, honestly. Like they're goofy and silly, and Molly Joe's hair is like super duper colorful. But like I don't know, it worked for me. I think they were fun. There was never a side character that was like, like get out of the show, like kind of vibe. Well, okay, hold on, maybe Ned. Ned might be the only one where I'm like, like this guy is like mid. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, fuck Ned. He's mid as hell. Here we go.
I feel like I need to eventually clip out what Nick's opinion on Ned from Thai Feud, just because I feel like it's so like it perfectly sums up, I think, all of our thoughts on Ned on how like he was just like harassing the Boonchoys after their daughter disappeared.
And the show just lets it happen. Like this guy doesn't get like punished or anything. Like dog. Like
But enough about Ned.
I don't know.
I do agree with
Yeah.
you how like if we had less townies, but kind of focused more on like certain ones like Terry, Dr. Jan, uh, Ali and Jess.
IT. Yeah. IT gals were fun too. I high key think they should have helped with the portal and making it. I feel like that was like a missed
They
opportunity.
did help with the
It's
portal, but like not
like
you don't really see it though. But like that's why I wish
they
like I
don't
wouldn't mind
build it.
if they focused like more on a smaller cast if it meant each of those supporting characters got more development.
Yeah, and I think you would also just lead to having more like Boonshoy a like planter interaction too.
Mm,
Because that's something I think we talked about in the season 3 retrospective, where it was like, I wish we got
more of
more
that.
of that. Because
Yeah.
the Boonshoys are like, because we're segueing to the Boonshoys now a little bit,
Hmm.
where it's like the Boonshoys are like great. I love them. They're really, but the Boonshoys do is that they find a good balance between like where they're good parents, right? They're like, they're not like, sometimes I think the fandom could sometimes make, at least in cartoon fandom, I notice this strange thing to like demonize parents a little bit. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not the only one noticing that. But like, um, the Boonchoys aren't like that. The Boonchoys are like legitimately good parents to Anne. But you also see like how Anne kind of became the way she was, but it's not like the focus of their characters. Like I feel like the Boonchoys aren't just used as like, here's why Anne is like this. Like no, they're very like three-dimensional in and of itself, and they're used for that too. And they like naturally tie to Anne's arc really well too. Um like hot take, but like I think I might have said this, but like I think the Boonchoys are like oh fuck, here we go. I think the Boonchoys are a better addition to Anne's character arc than Sasha and Marcy are. This is I feel to me anyway. I feel like the Boonchoys like add more to the Anne's arc as a character more than Sasha and Marcy. I gotta think about that. more I'm saying that, but like I don't know. I feel like the Boonchoys want Anne to like grow as a person. Like they're prompting her character growth. Like they're setting things up for her character arc and for her relationship with Sasha and Marcy later. So like it feels like the Boonchoys actively help Anne grow as a person, which also causes problems in of itself. They want Anne to change, and sometimes that expectation causes Anne to like fuck up and fail, right? So like with Sasha and Marcy, that's not quite the case. Like Sasha doesn't want Anne to change at all. Like she wants her to stay the same, and Marcy wants Anne to change, but not too much. But she like disagrees with not staying in Amphibia or staying with her. You know what I mean? Like it's only so much Marcy wants that to happen. So, um, but with the Boonshoys, really different. They want Anne to kind of fit. They want Anne to grow and develop as a person, but sometimes that perception of her growth is also flawed too. So, no, good like three-dimensional additions to the cast that I think do more than like a lot of parents do in cartoons. They're not just fuel to move a character's story along. I guess that's not necessarily a bad thing in of itself too. By the way, like home lives are like great ways to gain motivations in characters, but I like there are a lot more than
Wow, that's like I don't think I've heard that take from you before about like the parents adding more to Anne's character arc. We do not have time
that.
for that discussion today, but
Yeah.
I is something I want to revisit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of said everything that needs to be said about the parents. Like Mr. and Mrs. Boonchoy. Yeah, if it was a tighter like if season three like less, I wanted more. Like yeah, I just wanted. I wouldn't have minded less like meeting less one-off townsfolk people if we could just focus more on who we have already met. That would have been
Yeah,
great. I,
yeah, I high key agree with that. Like,
mhm.
just cut the cast a little bit and just make it more centralized. And I think it just works because I feel like the difference with season one is that like at least with the Wartwood townies, they are always in the show. Like we have a whole season with them, first of all. And then we get like season two and season three. Like they're always a part of the show.
Mhm.
So like we could have a bunch of these characters kind of like in the in the show's toolbox to use. But with these characters, like I think just having more centralized, like was it like five characters? I think we could like just put in there instead of like what is it like a lot that would just aren't going to be used later. Like they help the characters grow, but it's like not like the same thing, you know.
Yeah, and I think we can. I think that's kind of how I feel about season two a little bit
Ooh, okay, that's
because, like you said, like the characters we meet in season three, like they do play like a important role. It's just we wanted to see
yeah.
more of them, but then the characters we met in season two don't really like. And when I mean the characters we met in season two, like I mean like the ones that like show up again in like season three or like I don't really like they help with the plot, but
Do much
they
else.
don't really have like a large effect on our character's growth. Like for example, like we've already talked about Yunan in our villains recording. Like she was like an antagonist, and then she's on the side of the protagonist, but she doesn't really interact with them. And even with Olivia, like technically she's more like a supporting character for Marcy,
Yeah.
and like even Marcy admits that she didn't really get to know them that well. And because like Olivia's never really formed like a connection with anyone else, like anyone in the main cast. So she doesn't really carry that much of a presence. Like in terms of her interactions with the other main characters, I don't really feel that much like I don't. They don't really. She doesn't really have like a profound effect on our main characters. Like honestly, I think Frobo is probably the most, I guess, prominent season two supporting character, just because of like he actually
Well,
has like a direct like relationship with Polly.
yeah. Oh, and by the way, like just for everyone on the podcast, we're not considering Marcy and Sasha like side characters. They're like above that. Just want to preference that because I know that in the fandom it's a little weird. Like people will call the girls side characters and sometimes not, or the main characters. We're not considering
Ooh,
them like supporting
I did
characters.
not think about that because I do
Yeah.
consider Sasha and Marcy
Oh
supporting
well, at least
characters, but because they're very
I don't know. I That's a debate. Like I high key don't think there's like I feel like you have to think about Sasha and Marcy. They're not treated like side characters, which is why a lot of complaints about their screen time happen.
like I
But
would yeah like I would
like,
consider them main characters, but like
but they're not side
I
characters
wouldn't
though.
yeah I
They're
would,
like too important to
that's
the
why I like
story.
using
Like,
supporting characters.
yeah, yeah. This is one of the preference that because I know again, some people are gonna.
I just think
But
I think they support so much that they needed their own recordings to talk about them, so I could focus more on other supporting characters, like this one, like this recording.
yeah, because I was gonna say like for Frobo, like I agree with you, but I don't know how much of a compliment that is. Like I I don't know, because he gets some cool stuff with Wally's dad. That was a nice addition to like Wally's character, and like that does affect Anne's character too.
Wait, what does he do with Wally's debt?
Um, remember, Wally's dad is introduced in season 2. You gotta remember that. Like,
Ah, yes, yes.
yeah,
But he's not like
I
he does give a
uh,
lot of context for Wally.
yeah, yeah. It was like a I think knowing Wally's family tree was nice bits for Wally's character, and it adds a lot to Wally and Anne too. So I think that's a W, honestly.
Hmm.
I mean, like him as a character isn't like the craziest, most three-dimensional thing, but like the episode that he's adding to it works for me. And then like you had who else did we have? Like Priscilla, she was cool. I liked her. She's like a one-off, but like I liked the connection. Like she had with Anne and stuff. That was neat. With the butterfly and such. But you know what? Honestly, I don't even blame the season 2 characters not having that much staying power because I think that's a season 3 L. I think that's a season 3 L and less of a season 2 one because these characters are really fun in Newtopia and stuff. But like we don't get to see them again near the end of the show when like we're bringing everyone back from like the rest of the series. Um, besides Beatrix and all the Toads were awesome. I like them, but like
Yeah, they're great. And also
we
Lysol and Engwyn, like
Penguin,
the Olms
yeah, they're cool too. I think like
from
oh man, I
Corler's
guess like
Pass.
yeah, woo,
Impact's favorite episode. Yeah, don't
woo.
worry, I'm not gonna make fun of you for that. Don't worry.
But
Oh, you're awake.
I almost yes, I am awake. Thank you. But trying to think of characters I'm missing because I feel like season 2 adds a lot more. You know what? Because now the Alms definitely get like justice in season 3, like 100%. Like, um, so I think their attributes to the show are a lot. I mean, they literally take up like 1/3 of the world building in the show. So like, um, I think I don't know. I think it's really Utopia that loses it. The new Utopia characters that lose because we really only get like Olivia and Yunan there, and I think Olivia and Yunan does a good job expanding on Olivia's character, but not really Yunan
Hmm.
to be honest. So it's just kind of like, and you know what? I've never heard anyone complain about Olivia and Yunan's lack of screen time in the finale. It's so weird. We get like one fight with them, and then they're like gone. Like don't exist. Like like for the rest of the of the conflict. Like even in the hardest thing, like I don't remember where they're at. Like where like when the moon stuff is happening, besides near the end when they give Marcy the flowers, I'm like, where are they? Like in that I don't think they say anything. Like until that point. So but that's also like I think that's a thing where like where I don't know. It's I like those two Olivia and Yunan, but again, like it's just weird. I've never heard anyone complain about lack of screen time off.
Yeah, I'm trying to
You did
think.
get Olivia, so that was I guess that was like the bonus. That was like the we're good now. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I think Yeah, there's not really. You already covered Beatrix. Like, I liked how she shows up in season three again, and I think they use her better in season three than season two, because season two is kind of just like a one-off joke, like, oh, it's Grimes' sister. But then, like, at least in Grimes' pupil in season three, they kind of like expanded more on like the sibling kind of feuding, just to like feed into the
Yeah,
conflict with the frogs and toads.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, that's a good take. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point, honestly. Um, so yeah, I guess the alms. I guess everyone who wasn't in Utopia got like a boost.
Yeah,
Like, so
I think that's it for season two. I think we can go to season one.
yeah.
So
Oh, and
season
the curator. Oh wait, sorry.
no no no,
The curator was awesome.
yeah, I forgot.
So
Completely forgot about the curator. So Grunkle Stan Frog, yes.
yeah, W.
Yeah, I think Nick mentioned it's like the curator is like Grunkle Stan without the it's without the Pines family. Like if you
Yeah,
had Grunkle Stan without like the Pines family like dynamic and like those characters, he's just basically like an old grumpy asshole.
which is really funny for a one-off character. I liked it.
Yeah, like Swindler too. And it's like you don't like he. There's no like redeeming qualities that we're exposed to with the curator, so it's just
Yeah, that's why they could just kill him and they're like we're cool with it. Like Pop Pop's even like whatever GG's gonna head out like like great.
yeah. I think we can just
Yeah,
go
like
into. Oh, go ahead.
no, I just said I liked them. That's it.
Okay, and now we can go into season one. This is where greatness was born. Like in Star Wars how they complain how like everything revolves around the Skywalker family, like billions and trillions of people, this entire universe centers around this very few individuals. Well, in Amphibia, you have a town of like less than 100 people, all ending up being super critical to the story and the fate of two worlds rests on the shoulders of all these this single town, and I love it. I savor it.
Yeah.
You got Wally, you got Soggy Joe, you got
Yes,
Maddie's
sir.
dad, you got you got
Yes, sir.
Fern, you got you got you got Stumpy, you got Ivy, you got Croaker, you got Toadstool, you got Ivysaur, Bulbasaur, Venusaur, you got every like as you can tell, yeah, I do think everyone introduced in season one is goaded, except Barry. But we already talked about
Fair.
Barry, the clown villain, but not even clown, just like magician villain. But like, I'm gonna try not to talk too much. But basically, I like how I mentioned season three's townies were kind of like not as organic because of the
Mhm.
urgency of the story, like or not the story, the invasion plot.
Yeah.
But at least with Wartwood, we could kind of just like it felt much more organic because you're just dropped into this town and then you're learning about each of the residents kind of like one by one over the course of the season. And I think that's why, and because they're introduced in season one, they have that like staying power in the later seasons.
In the end game. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think like because I think with the townies, it's like they because with the Earth townies, they just pop up one episode, like, hey guys, this is my episode. I'm here now. And then like you might stay or not. But here it's like again, like we said, like they just kind of come in. Like Wally could just show up. Like you can just be in an episode and then we'll handle him like 10 episodes later. Like he'll get an episode. Or like Croker can just show up in one and we kind of get some characterization of her and then we'll explore her later. Kind of thing. So like it just feels like they just show up. Like it doesn't feel like Wally and Anne is like a Wally episode, but like Wally's been a character already for a while. And I think this comes down to like because the setting of season one is stuck in one place. So we're always kind of like surrounded by similar people throughout the story. Like we get one-off characters here and there, but like if it's very easy to just have like a character from another episode show up and make a joke or like be important to the plot here and there. And with I'm comparing it a little bit to season three here, but like with LA, it's like LA is like a this big place that like the characters could kind of just be anywhere in pretty much. But with Wartwood, it's very tiny, and that's like intentional. Like it's supposed to feel a little claustrophobic. So like we're kind of always meeting the same people all the time. So it allows like characters like Miss Croker to have like to be important in multiple episodes without like feeling like she just like kind of just teleports into the story. So like but there's also like yeah, and like again Wally doesn't have that problem either. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do really like how like you mentioned, it's not like you're not thrown into this character. They're kind of in the background for a little bit, and then the planners just end up running into them for like a situation. And especially in the later half of season one, like you get all those like little towny adventures. So like when you see them come back in season three, like you already know their stats. Like you know what they're about. Especially when you have
Yeah.
like it's so rewarding to have characters like I think I've said this multiple times, but like cracking Mrs. Croker isn't really like I don't hate there isn't an Amphibia episode that I like hate or dislike. It's just some are more forgettable than others, and cracking Mrs. Croker is one of them. But like just the fact that like they establish Croker's kind of like past, seeing that come back in like the finale where she's basically like commanding like a squad or like the Frog Army. It's like it's not out of place. Like you can't like
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense within the story.
Yeah, and like having and even like when the resistance too, like the fact that like Sasha like has like faith to put like Miss Croker kind of having her own team is like fun to think about. Like even when we don't see like because of that episode, I can connect the dot of why Sasha thinks, oh yeah, this person should lead their own squad of people or blah 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 or lead this army, for example. Like it's I don't know that's like a really cool thing that season one gives to the show. Like I feel like that's something really easy to like. I feel like a lot of like I feel like that's I don't know. I'm gonna get to a season one discussion a little bit here, but like that's something that like just season one carries the hell out of the show. Like, and that's like one of the good examples of that where like season one is developing this whole cast of Frog Valley, and you just have this huge like toolbox for the show to reuse over and over. Like Toadstool's a great example of this, where like he's a character who starts off as like a villain in season one. He's kind of a prick to the town, and you know he's a toad. He's exploiting the frogs and whatnot to keep being in office. But then like when so you have that start of the character, and then like because of reunion, him saving the frogs and stuff, and some of his time with like Anne messing up the town and such. You're also seeing like its fun transition of like Toadstool like caring about the town and stuff, and that can lead to Bog and him showing up later. Like the show was only able to do that because it established the world building in Wartwood so well in season 1. So again, like, or even with Wally and him, like with the explosives and stuff, like in season 1, and like him like being this demolition expert in the resistance and stuff. Like that's awesome. Like that's it. Season 1 carries the show, and that's like a good example of that, where like you just have this large toolbox of characters established, and it's really easy to like underestimate that, but it plays like it's the reason why the Wartwood characters are so like 3-dimensional in that way. Like you're given multiple episodes with them to shine, and season 1 just gives like a great groundwork for everyone to expand off of later. Like even like Toady gets like Toadie's like a meme character in season 1, but like then they start kind of giving him more stuff like in season 2 and like Battle of the Bands like randomly, like you wouldn't expect that to just happen. Um, but then like eventually we get to like Sasha's Angels, and like he's kind of becoming this more independent character by the end of the show, which is awesome. Like it works with the themes of change too, which is great. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Again, season 1 carries the hell out of the show, and it just you really feel it with all the side characters.
I do like the tool set analogy you're using with these characters, because like it's not like it's not like if it feels like a toolbox that you've kind of built up over time instead of just like just dumping a bunch of tools you've never used before
Yeah,
into one place. It's like you're slowly like accumulating this kind of arsenal, and then by the time like you get to the end, it's like you have all of these like different characters, all these different pieces, and you kind of know when to use what, and you're already kind of familiar with how to use it.
yeah. I think what is it like? Yeah, it's just I think like I think my favorite. I don't know. I'm trying to think who's my favorite townie in season 1 because Wally is definitely up there.
Hmm.
I think Stumpy is too. Honestly, I think Stumpy's underrated. I really liked his episode with Anne and
Yeah,
what was it?
I love Lily
Tony.
Pad Thai, like
Yes.
especially Stumpy's inclusion, because he's one of the first townies that Anne kind of like gets like a little adventure with. I think he's the first one actually.
I believe you're right. Yeah, because it was just her interacting with the entire town, but
Hmm.
this is like a singular townie,
Yeah.
and then we get like Wally and Anne a little later. Yeah, I think this is the first one. Which is cool. I think like I don't know, like and like the fact that like Stumpy like for the whole show keeps that restaurant the way it was is like so fun to think about, and like even like with him like cooking the resistance and stuff. We don't know if he makes like the Thai food Anne was like setting up, but it's in the Resistance anyway. I would assume he was. I feel like it'd be weird if he wasn't. But yeah, I don't know. It's like that's a really like I think that's a super underrated part of Amphibia. Yeah, like the just like having that like it kind of reminds me of like a little bit of Hilda, where it's like the Netflix show,
Hmm.
where that show also does really good world building, where the first season is just giving you a bunch of characters, like and establishing how like certain magic systems work and whatnot. It's just chilling, and then for the rest of the show, it just gets to just like fuck around and just mash things together you wouldn't expect. And I think Amphibia does that really well too, where you're like, wait, this guy's getting an episode? What? Like Toadie's getting an episode in season 3? Huh? We're getting a Spivey episode now? What? But they're like actually really fun. So it's like it like Spivey, like You know what? Hot take. I kind of feel like season like with 3B, a part of me like I feel like I remember a lot of those episodes getting like a little bit of hate with Spivey and like Sasha's Angels. But like I think my problem with Commander Ann is like we don't get enough of the townies. It's this the episode take has like the kind of hurry, like kind of skips past them and has to focus on Sasha and Anne so much. We don't really get like time to like chill out with the townies and kind of see how things would change until we get to like Spivey and Sasha's Angels. Those episodes really help Commander Ann feel whole. Like that it doesn't need to be 22 minutes. I feel like that gets like underrated a lot because I think those two episodes really help. Like if you just had Commander Ann and then you just skipped it and just went to like the Alms, it wouldn't work. Like it wouldn't. Like it would feel really weird. Like you wouldn't have time to like because like as a at least for me as a viewer, I'm invested in a Wartwood. Like I'm invested into these characters and like I want to make sure they're okay and what's going on. Like so like only focusing on Sasha and Anne like just doesn't vibe with me because we've had a whole season one where we focused on like on these frogs and I want to see how they're gonna change or grow, what's been going on. Even with like Lago, like it's like that change from like he's just like a goofy like woodsman and then like I don't know if that's the term craftsman, whatever it is. Um, and then like season two, he kind of loses the what was the joke? Like it was like the I don't
Yeah.
or something. Like, yeah, like he kind of loses it, but Lago's still funny. Like, and like then by season three, like the joke is that he's buff now, which I do think the show does a little too much with it because I feel like there was a little more to Lago beyond that, but it was still funny. Like seeing him like buff as hell, like when we get to season three, like so yeah, I don't know. I kind of went on a rant there for a sec, but like yeah,
No, that's all right. Like, I do think Commander Ann could have used a little more Return to Wartwood vibes.
yeah, that's something I really agree with.
Because
Like
I like a
what?
lot of people praised the episode Return to Wartwood, like just because you're getting reacquainted with the townsfolk, and like they kind of do have that in Commander Ann, like showing the new status quo, like where they are, what they're doing. But like, I
Yeah,
wish we spent more time with that, which we kind of get more with Spivey, like them
yeah,
hanging out in the
uh,
underground, like tunnels, base.
yes. Like high key, Spivey like really saves Commander Ann. Like I feel like if Spivey wasn't the episode right after it, and this is weird because when we first saw the titles, I was like Spivey, oh my god. But then like when we got it, I was like, no, that episode really helps. Like, yeah, we needed more time with the resistance. Like I need to know how the frogs are doing, what's going on. Like this is like totally cool. Like I don't need like and this is coming from a guy who like my favorite part of the show are the girls. I was like, even I would like during Commander Ann, I was like, man, I wish we had more like the Wartwood stuff. Like Sasha Ann's cool and all, but like I want to know how my frogs are doing. You know? So
Hmm.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, I feel like
um,
we've covered most of these supporting characters. Like we already kind of talked about like the villains. So like I don't need to bring up we've already talked about Tritonio.
Tritonio,
Um,
yeah.
Domino
Got everybody.
Domino 2 we kind of brought up too.
Wait, does the Guardian count as a side character? I just thought about that. Like,
Ooh.
or is that like, because that's a weird. The Guardian's a weird
Yeah, we
character.
have time. I think we have time. Do you want to start or do you want
Okay.
me to go?
Dumb, you go. I want to hear your thoughts
Ooh.
about the Guardian because I feel like he's kind of controversial, right? Like
Let me
from.
take a quick sip of water before I go into this. Oh man, the mic probably picked up something really weird when I was drinking that. But anyways, my thoughts on the Guardian is that I think their inclusion in the series was fine for me. I feel like
Yep.
a lot of people have this issue where they have sorry, let me uh uh I
Trying
really
to rephrase it.
yeah, I'm trying to think like I think people's issue with the Guardian was that it didn't have enough there wasn't enough foreshadowing regarding the Guardian. And I don't think I've seen this take before, but it's like you don't need to foreshadow like what would foreshadowing the Guardian do for the story? Like how does if we knew early on in season 2, oh, there's this being that created the gems. In
I
terms of like the I understand like the why part, like why did it create the gems and but like Amphibia wasn't really they never really focused on the origin of the gems. And I think the Guardian is just kind of like is basically God in the story.
mhm.
So it's very I don't want to say it's like meta. I do think it's like the Guardian doesn't really fit in Amphibia's story. I think it's more relevant to Anne's story, like Anne's
Yeah,
character arc.
yeah.
So having this character exist and interact with Anne only like after everything's basically over and when she's like basically like in an in the beyond and not in Amphibia or Earth's universe, I think functions well to Anne's story. And because it's not too involved with like in like the material, more like tangible part of Amphibia's story, I'm fine with it. It's very because like it's basically spelling out Anne's character arc.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like I would respond to the. It's alright if I respond to like the story part,
Yeah,
like
sure.
needing the fourth. I think like I kind of agree with people with this a
Mm-hmm.
little bit.
Okay.
Like I think so. I think like I don't think you need to like establish to the viewer, guys, there's God. All right? Like there's going to be a God sooner or later, okay? Pay attention. I think you needed to establish in the viewer's head, hey, this could happen. There's a possibility there's something bigger than the Alm in the core right now, like that we don't know about. I think like that I think that would have been fine. Even like even Mother Alm being like when Anne's like, hey yo, where how do the stones work? Like where are they at from? And and maybe Mother Ohm's like we think they come from like a greater power or something. I don't know. Hint at the idea that there could be something bigger than the core and the alms. Because I think like for me, I needed to know like I need to know the origins of the gems because like the alms and the core's entire societies are based on their interpretation of them. Like the core literally says like, or Aldrich, I guess. like the stones are like their sacred birthright. It's the reason, like it shows that they have like the divine right to rule and conquer. That's important. That's an important idea to like the core's motivation as a character, right? Or like the Ohm's ideas that the stone should be left alone. That kind of passive like mentality, like don't interact with it, don't do anything with it, which is we see later like in the show with the Ohms being like losers and not like trying to stop Andreas, right? Like them being passive and not doing anything. So like the interpretations of the stones are important to Amphibia's world. So getting the answer to that question, I felt like I needed to know that. Like that was something I was waiting for. Like once the core and the king showed up and like the core talked about its mentality of the stones, I knew instantly we have to know. If we don't know, the story doesn't work to me. Like that's a big like hole in its piece. So having a character like that, I think was good. Um, but I don't know. I don't think you need to like. I don't think anyone in Amphibia should know there's a god, because like I think there should be at least an idea that there could be one or something greater than like greater than what we've seen so far. That's it. Like just have Mother Ohm say a one-off line. You don't need to establish the Guardian as like this permanent thing in Amphibia's lore. Like that doesn't need to be like I don't need to know how the temples are made, kinda, sorta. Like I think I'm like kind of cool with that. Like, but I can see why people were a little weirded out by it. But I guess I didn't mind it that it showed up because I didn't feel like the Guardian destroys anything in the show. It adds depth to it. Like like you said, like Anne's arc is like pretty much like explained the Guardian, like that pretty much just explains Anne's character arc. But it's like fun to have a point where Anne shows like a bit of humility in that situation where the Guardian doesn't really get it. Like even with like the whole proposal of like, hey, Anne, you want to be a god when you're like super old or whatever. Anne doesn't even like the Guardian doesn't really get like what Anne is saying, that like you're never going to be perfect. Like you're always changing and growing and developing, and like giving that responsibility to Anne at 13 doesn't make sense. And probably giving her that responsibility at all doesn't, like even when she's like older. Like remember, Anne doesn't even like, I'm getting a little bit off tangent, but like Anne doesn't even like really fully agree to the Guardian's proposal. She's just like, it might be cool. So it's not like the story is saying like Anne should be a god or something. That's not what it's saying with it. So I don't know. Like the Guardian, like I feel like worked towards me, and I like how the Guardian's a little like nonchalant with like crazy shit. Like the the Guardian just says, "Ayo, and by the way, you're a clone." In the original version, she died. Whatever. Anyways, like you want to be a god too? Like he doesn't even think about like how crazy that question is. Like you can tell like the guy is not mortal. Like it
Mhm.
never has been. Like you know. So I don't know. The Guardian never bothered me. I feel like I don't know. Like this is getting a little fandom talk. So stop me if I'm going too far. But it's like I don't know. Like that was the weirdest thing to have to be controversial. I get why, but it's like I feel like the point of the Guardian went way over the audience's head. Like, and it's like not that hard either. Like I don't know. That said, me being fandom critical. Let me try to be careful about that. I try my best to stop
Yeah, like I get what you
that.
mean. It's like it's a balance between like suspense and I guess foreshadowing, where it's like we want to know some stuff, Like we want to be caught off. Like we want to be surprised, but once we're surprised, we want it to all fit and make sense. And I
Yeah,
think
I
I think the Guardian kind of like threw people off with
you
how
know
it.
what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, you know what? It's probably because most of the show, like, I think when the stakes got higher in Amphibia, the show did a pretty good job of preparing you for it. Like when we have like imagine in season one, like randomly, like the core just showed up in one episode,
Hmm.
like like not like, and then the robots just like teleported into the show in season one, like it would feel really weird, right? But like season two is kind of naturally setting this up. It's like readying the audience for being like, "Ayo, robots gonna be a big thing now." But like I think with the Guardian, I think the magic of Amphibia isn't isn't like fully established to be from something else.
Hmm.
Um, like, and that's kind of the point, like the mystery of the stone, like because the interpretations of, again, I've said this before, like the interpretations of the stones are important to the alms in ancient utopia. That like it, what's the word? Like I think it would have been hard to naturally fit that in, but like, but yeah, but like I'm saying before, like it just isn't like the technology stuff is naturally set up in season two because this is like a large, like world shaping event. But even like the girls as powers are like slowly this is something that's a part of the show in season. We're like establishing this as important. Like Anne is like learning how to use her powers. We're understanding kind of the rules of how it works. It's not hard magic or anything, but it's like we're getting a good idea that like, yo, the gems are really strong, really powerful. So when the girls get their powers at the end, it feels like, yeah, that makes sense. Like it doesn't feel like it just comes out of nowhere, you know? Like yeah, like all those points with like Anne's powers or the robot and stuff, they all feel natural. Like even Andreas being a cyborg doesn't like, it throws me off, but it's like, no, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, like that's like a, I could buy that. But with the Guardian, I get what people mean where people are like, wait, well, what? There's God in this show? Like that's something you wouldn't think about. So like, but with the core is different. Where like again, the core is established naturally of the technology of the show, and so and we kind of get a good idea of like its mentality of itself. That when it goes like when it starts acting like a god, it it makes sense. There we go.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about about the Guardian.
The Guardian. Oh wait, one more thing,
Hmm.
if I can add. Like I would say that I think the Guardian's a much better thing than like the Lion Turtle in Avatar. I've seen that comparison a lot, and like the Lion Turtle is like way worse. Like the Lion Turtle like completely goes against the themes and ideas of the show. It just gives Aang like a F you, here's the easy win button, like to your solution and problem. The Guardian doesn't do that. Like the Guardian naturally ties to the ideas of change and Anne's character growth and peace. And even like the whole Anne, like Anne being like a clone thing, it's really funny. She dies and is born again. She has all the Lotus imagery throughout season three, and her powers have this too, which are like symbols of rebirth and reincarnation. So it's interesting that Anne even gets like that theme comes full circle. The Guardian's
Oh,
adding to that in the story. So like, yeah, that's something it took me a second to figure out, but like it the Guardian is adding to the themes and ideas of the piece. So I think it all works for me. Also, like the Guardian only giving like the stones enough to get Anne and Sasha and Marcy back home is a good thing. She shouldn't have given them like the entire stones back. That's a horrible idea. I'm just saying, like we had to fight. Like I've seen so many people be like, "Why the Guardian is such a douchebag? Why does he like not give them like the full stones like before?" And like we didn't just fight an entire like intergalactic empire based upon those things. like, like whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna get into that, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Impact. I think that kind of wraps up our talk on supporting characters. And yeah, I think you've given your final thoughts, Impact, on like the Guardian. I appreciate that. We kind of talked about all the season, the characters of each season, and I think yeah, Amphibia just has a really strong like supporting cast.
Yeah.
But that's all for today. Next time we'll be talking about Spring, but until then, say goodbye, Impact.
Peace, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.